All right, 79 degrees Fahrenheit. Looks like we had an accident on the bridge back there. I don't know what happened. It's 212,868 miles on the odometer. It is May 4th. May the force, or May 4th be with you. Yeah, there was some kind of bumper to bumper incident. Car went 180 on the bridge. I just passed by. It looks like first responders response. Yeah, so this is probably the second part of the vlog. This is gonna be the delivery part. Don't have a lot to say. No screenplay talk or anything. Enjoy the show. A lot of writers hopefully are watching this. I do a lot of screenplay messages, screenplay ideas. Some not. Well, I haven't really done any novel ideas. I've only written maybe 10 novels. 5 really strong attempts and 5 weak attempts. There's about 4 published online novels. I'll start with the Untitled. That's about a 900 pager, about 1,000 pager. That's about a donut shop worker in LA that gets wrapped up in this serial killer that kills people with an old, well, he doesn't kill, he kills people with a gun, but he uses an old-timey photograph machine to photograph it, very similar to Tom Hanks and Jude Law in Disposition, whatever road. You know what it's called. It's called Desperation Road or something. It's I'll find the name too later. It's Tom Hanks plays, Jude Law plays a serial killer. Tom Hanks is in it. The road to perdition. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit, but it's not set in that time. It's set in modern times. The guy not time travels, but he warps. 3 characters Untitled. One of them is called, I think maybe Jonah, and then Jay, and then Steve What's-His-Face. There's the 3 main characters. There's Jay for sure, and there's Steve What's-His-Face. It takes place where a spirit goes into 3 different characters, and you see the protagonist from 3 different things. Then I got one called The Thief Story, written by Roberto Pace and sells 1776, about Tom Burnett, and then who's an art thief, and then Mr. Spoil, who's a petty theft in Maine, the state of Maine. It's set in Texas and Maine. Then I got another one called The World of Documents, which is a series of short stories, one being a really good one called The Star Factory, a star producing factory, or I think it's called The Star Factory, set underwater. And then I've got a whole series under what I call the Pet Taxi series. It has 3 major ones. One called Men, the second one called Silver Alert Kitty, and the third one called Pet Taxi. Then there's a resolution denouement. I don't know for sure the denouement. I don't know if that can be found. It's a 4-part story. It's considered probably a novel, or at least a series of 3 short stories. Trying to say I'm missing. I think I'm missing one. There's one called The Untitled, but it's stuck in a computer that I threw away. It's a series, a sequel to The Untitled, kind of in a way. It's about OCD. The Untitled is. It's been thrown away. It's about OCD behavior. And then I'm trying to think of another one. Series of shorts, about 1,000 poems. They all went on to poetry.com, in which that whole site was wiped. I was doing poetry.com from probably the mid-90s all the way to when it wiped out and became Lulu. Trying to think of another one. Oh, Chin, right? Chin starts with an injury. It's about an English teacher. The protagonist is called the English teacher. He gets hit in the chin, and he gets assaulted, and he falls in love with an Asian student, one of his students. Well, he has thoughts about her. They don't really consummate their relationship. He just kind of has thoughts about her. It's hidden. It's never said that he likes her. It's just one of his students' name is Sora. That one's called the whole thing is called Chin. I'm trying to think. there's Chin 2. Chin's also about COVID. I wrote it during COVID. Then finally there's Rib, which I'm still working on. Rib's it's a revolutionary story concerning uprising, revolution, good cops and bad cops, but mostly it's surrounding the protagonist of a cop that's on administration leave with his dog. I believe his dog's name has like a very generic dog name. Can't think of what he calls his dog right now, but it's a service dog. It's him, a service dog, and during his administration leave, there becomes like this revolution against the police. Anyway, I'll have to talk to you about it later. It's actually a revolutionary story. Gotta head back for a second. There's that bridge thing I was talking about. Yeah. Looked like it went 180. Don't know how serious though. Yeah, they went 180. Oof. Right next to Hotel Otto, also known as Jamel's. All right. I put some kind of dirt down or something, I guess, for the oil. The car was turned 180. Anyway. Okay, so if you want to read any of my novels, you go to fictionpress.com. You put in the writer's name or author's name, Ash Cole, A-S-H, skip a space, C-O-L-E. Ash Cole, like cigarette ash, and then Cole. You can do the same on fan fiction. Those are free published sites, so you can go on, you can publish as much as you want on those sites for storage space. So I started switching over to Facebook, and those would be like not daily posts, but random posts. And you'll see usually what I try to do is post the whole story, but Facebook only allows me to do segments of the story. And then if I do too much, they temporarily block, so you can't just keep posting a novel on Facebook. So, but I did Facebook so I could keep up with it a little bit better. Occasionally, what I used to do is I would try to Gmail it, and some files I can PDF. All my screenplays are PDF to my Gmail. All of them. Yeah, pretty much all of them that I've started doing that probably maybe as early as 2003 on screenplay. I have one screenplay published at the Library of Congress. That one's called Stranger Awaits Lost Goodbye. No, I'm sorry, wrong title. Lost Awaits Stranger Goodbye. There it is. Lost Awaits Stranger Goodbye. That one is a lot of description. So I didn't learn about cutting description till about maybe 5-6 months ago. How important it is to keep it very simple, no more than 4 lines on description. So I thought of it more of almost like a novel with dialogue, but it's not that way at all. Even though Conan the Barbarian, which is John Milius, is kind of like that. But I kept it to 4 lines of description. I don't know about Quentin Tarantino. I heard he's like a novel writer. But I don't know. You know, some people like it, some people don't. Because I've already sent it to a movie star, and he was like, a little wordy. That was Escape from Maine, though. That was a different one. Teleplays, I've got one. Skinny Pete and Friends, a sequel to Better Call Saul. I've got Escape from Maine, which is a series about a writer that lives in Maine trying to get back to Texas. I've got another one, Grace, a.k.a. Werevlog, that I want Gary Oldman to look at. Gary Oldman, I want him to look at it. It's about a lot of things, but it's about these vloggers and a werewolf. Then I have one called Deep on Elm, which is about my childhood, teenage years in Dallas. It's kind of about the Depeche Mode age / New Order / punk rock, as in the Ramones and Fugazi. But it's about a kid living in the punk rock age, being a new waver. I got a few screenplays. Anyway, thanks. .1 Volkswagen Rabbit. According to A.D.W.C, they're supposed to make air available, venting air in the elevators. A.D.W.C is the one that makes the, well, they regulate the elevators, at least here. Five foot 4'10", 4.4. It's Fort Worth ISD administration building under reconstruction. Probably most likely under, it's going to be movement. They're going to be I don't know, I guess transferring location. Relocation, yeah. Relocation of the first, this is probably maybe the second Fort Worth administration building. It could be the first one, I don't know. I have to do research on it, but it's one of the Fort Worth ISD administration buildings that's being relocated. Probably because of online reasons. There's a skyline. That's Trinity. And well, maybe they're shutting down go-karts. It's starting to rain right now. It's a Saturday. A lot of golfers for mini golf. It's Rockwood go-karts and mini golf. They're getting the good golfing in for the putt-putt. Well, I guess it's putt-putt golf, kind of in a way. It's really just Rockwood mini golf. Next one, 633, 7, 3.7. All the way from Illinois. $704 and 2, 1.3. All right, 913, 1.5. Ten 15 10 4.2. This is a neighborhood I grew up in. Right, 10, 5, 2, 12, and 5. The sickness will not end in death, but unto the glory of God. We know that Jesus Christ stood before the Pharisees and Sadducees, are the important people that had the stones to stone Mary Magdalene. And what he wrote in the sand could have been something like their names, or it could have been something like, you know how we have license plates? Something to that nature. And it was something important, whatever it was he wrote in the sand. And they knew from that moment, at that particular time when he wrote in the sand, they knew he was the Messiah. So they dropped the stones and walked away. But he also told them something. He said, if you have no sin, you've never had any sin, then you be the first. You be the first to cast the stone, right? That's a really important aspect of things. So when I talked to the minister, he asked me a question, what do y'all seek? And the answer probably from most people at that time would be something that you would think that I would say, but I only spoke of purity. You use the word purity. We seek purity in Christ, right? Because that's where the Puritans were, okay? So they're like, oh, okay, I see. You want to be without sin. Okay, you can only do that through Jesus. The prayer was pretty passionate, I guess. To me, it was. I was shaking. Linda was there. And in my heart, I was just praying for peace, for peace to happen. But the minister did mention the word police. And I understand that everybody wants to have everything perfect, but we're in a fallen world. Listen, every single person at that place is a criminal in the eyes of God because we've all fallen short. We've all fallen short to the glory of the Lord. So every license plate has sin on it. We all know that because it says in the Bible that we've fallen glory. We've fallen short. We've fallen from glory. We've fallen short from the glory of the Lord. We're not perfect. Neither is Linda, neither is I. I'm not perfect, neither is the minister, neither is anyone that goes to that particular church. So what was written on purpose so that we all understand that we're all liable for what we do. I'm going to talk to a story about a man that thought he was right. It was a police officer. And there was basically a displaced person, a homeless person, right? That's the word. There's the word. Even though as Christians we all are per se, even as Buddhist you are, even as Islamic you are, right? You have no home here on this planet because when you pass away, you don't pass away in some kind of home that floats off. You no longer access your home. You want to be buried in your home. So we know that we're displaced people. wandering in this weird desert we call life, looking for the promised land, okay? So here's the answer about calling the police for your personal protection. You might as well call the police on every single person that comes into your church. If you're only going to minister to the people that are perfect, then you're not doing God's plan. You're not a church. A church ministers to the dark. The church ministers to the broken and the alcoholic, the person that suffers, right, from all type of sin. Everything from trafficking to drugs to alcohol to whatever the sin may be that you so fear and you're so disgusted by. It disgusts God when you're like, oh, you're not perfect, I'll call the police on you. Because anybody, that could happen to anybody. It would happen to me when I lost my wife and children due to a misunderstanding. I avoided the church because that's what they were pointing their fingers at me and getting ready to do to me at one time, right? So you're liable. And let me tell you what happened to the police officer and the displaced man. He became scared or paranoid. And he ran from the police officer. The police officer drew his gun and fired at the running man that was running away, killing him. The police officer died of the death penalty. The judge that judged him saw that as premeditated murder because they'd proven by a shadow of a doubt the police officer knew where the man was, knew that the man was paranoid, knew that the man had a problem. They proved in court the heart that was on the heart of the police officer. Meaning they proved that it was he intended to kill him, and he did. He showed up at the park, scared him, the man ran away, he drew his pistol and fired as the man ran. He didn't even try to bother to chase him down. He died of the death penalty. The worst thing a criminal could die of, the death penalty. And it's a true story. You are all criminal because of one reason, okay? Because you have fallen short of the glory of the Lord. I'm not calling you a crook. I'm working on a feature called A Cat Named Crook. But in your heart, if you were to go up to someone that is sick, because an alcoholic has a sickness, so does a diabetic, so does a person in a wheelchair. And if you were going up to a person and you say, call the police on that person, and something happened and that person died because of your judgment, you could get the death penalty. I know you know about my show. I know you know. You're not stupid. You know. And you will be held liable for your actions. Just as the police officer died from the criminal's death, which is known as the death penalty, for drawing his revolver, a lethal weapon, and making complete capital punishment, making complete judgment on a person that is feeble-minded and helpless. We're all helpless under the glory of the Lord. We need His help. I'm not asking necessarily at this moment, not asking because I don't have the power yet, but I'm not asking you to lay down your weapon and walk away from it. But I can promise you this, your name is on a list. My destination is the White House, to become the president and to draw bills that Biden has not done and that Trump has not done. Your name is on a list right now. This is your warning. Now, there will be a time when you won't have a choice and you will face me. You'll face me and I'll make the decision for you. Because a citizen will be able to defend his family. The citizen will be able to defend his people. There are many police officers that have walked away from the crime of judgment. There are many police officers that have walked away from the crime of judgment. It's a crime in God's eyes. You as a church are to talk to the alcoholic and to pray with them. So when I walked in the church, I heard the minister say that he'd call the police. It's time to seek God. This is the time to seek God. That's what it says on your clock. right, another night of delivery. We're gonna head back and see Linda and Kitty.